Kendra, in your mind, what's the biggest mindset shift staffing firms need to make to start to see collaboration as a growth engine and not necessarily a nice to have?
Ooh, now that's a great question, Brad. And I think it really gets to the heart of it, especially in this market, right? I think that the biggest mindset shift that staffing firms really need to have right now is to see collaboration as a real growth engine. It's not just a nice to have these days, right? It's really about moving from a place of perceived scarcity to one of abundance, particularly when things feel tight. And they definitely do these days. And we all know it's a challenging landscape right now. We've got the economic uncertainty, the candidate shortages in some of the sectors, heavy competition, and clients being way more cautious with their spending. So in this kind of environment, the instinct naturally it's to hunker down and protect what you have. But you often limit your potential when you do that. And that's because the shift, it really has to lean towards recognizing that in a difficult market, the burden's lighter when it's shared, frankly. So instead of these firms trying to navigate these headwinds on their own, collaboration offers a lifeline. And it's so important to really take a look at your industry partners and who you are working with to, do the best you can in this market and maximize those relationships and the collaboration between them. Because when you partner, you can really tap into those strengths and weather the storm much more effectively.
At what point should a staffing firm start to think about collaboration? Is that something from day one when they open their doors? Is that something 3 to 5 years down the line? At what point should a staffing owner start to think about outsourcing some of the day-to-day responsibilities that they might have?
100% from day one. You're going to be scrappy. You're going to be figuring it out yourself. And while you're doing that, you should be having conversations with partners about how you can set up your firm and set up your processes so that when you're ready to make that purchase, when you're ready to make that buy or to partner with someone in the industry, you already have the groundwork laid out. So many times I see clients jump, right? They make that sweet jump from $1 million to $5 million. That now to get from 5 to 10, that takes a completely different wheelhouse, like a lot of different skills, different processes, different technology. And so every time you make this jump, you don't want to start from scratch. And so it's really, really important to start from day one and kind of shift your thinking from like, how do I survive? How do I make this happen? But shifted from that to more like, how can we actually find new avenues for growth together? Not just in this environment, but when you're first starting out.
I like the thought of finding a strategic partner that can take you to the next level, right? We're all capable of doing the basics, but when you have a partner who excels in one key area and you can lean on them to help become a growth engine for you in that area, well, then it helps you develop a competitive advantage in your local market. Whereas you're competing against these other staffing and recruiting firms, you now have competitive advantage in the strength of your partners.
Yes, so true. So true. And you now have this wealth of information as well, right? I mean, there are so many industry partners out there who are willing to bet on startups, willing to bet on smaller players, knowing that, they have the expertise, they have a few contracts, and they're looking to grow their business. We see it all the time at Advanced Partners, right? And we'll have conversations with you. Other partners will have conversations with you, even if it's not a good fit or you're not ready for that particular technology or expertise or whatever it may be. There's still relationships you can tap into and help really look at it as a growth engine.
How do you propose staffing firms find a partner as a true partner and not just someone who can get the job done, right? So if you're thinking about finding somebody who is a true partner, to me, that means they fit your mission, your vision, your values. They're aligned with you strategically. How do you propose a staffing firm finds the right partner who, again, is a true partner and not just somebody who can get the job done?
Goodness. A few things. One is transparency, being very open and honest from the jump when you're having conversations and searching for true partnerships, because it lays the groundwork for those relationships and for the potential growth you can experience together. So transparency is a big one. also, making sure that it's a good cultural fit. There are some folks who are the best in the business and they just may not be a good partner for you personally.
Sure.
Being honest with yourself about that and being honest with them as well. I just really, really believe in putting it all out on the table and having honest conversations from the get-go. It really helps you hyperdrive that trust and that opportunity for growth together. And it being open to feedback, because oftentimes, it's a shift going from founder to CEO. Like that thought process is a big shift. And so often, we'll see founders who are just have their business, a tight grip on their business because they feel like if they're not doing it all, or if they don't have their hands in it, it's not going to be done correctly. And frankly, that's not the case. So if you have that transparency and you have that trust, then kind of let them lead, let them guide you.
Hey, it's Brad taking a short break to tell you about an offer exclusive to listeners of Take the Stage. 30 minutes of strategic marketing consultation with me, completely free. Hey, whether you're looking to drive more sales or more job applications, I want to help. Visit bit.ly/stage offer. Pick a time that works best for you. That's it. Again, whether you want to drive more applications or more job orders, I want to help. That's bit.ly/stage offer. All right, let's get back to the show.
How hands-on should an owner be in that situation? Should they punt the responsibilities and let the staff or the partner rather run with it? Or do you think the best partnership is somebody that is, sort of 50-50 mutual?
I think 50-50 mutual, especially to start when you're building that relationship. Once the trust is there and the consistent performance and, results are being brought to the table, then you can, have a longer leash and let them run with it more. But in the very start, it needs to be 50-50. And frankly, that's because no one knows your business like you do. So you need to be having those conversations and letting them know what's going on with you and what it is you need. And talking to your operations folks or your recruiters or whoever it is, having really candid conversations with them and bringing some of them into the fold as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. As I have now been here with Haley Marketing for, over 12 years. Yeah. I think the best projects that I've been a part of and the best projects I continue to be a part of still have very heavy client input, right? It's not somebody that's just saying, hey, do our marketing and we'll talk to you in a year. We'll talk to you in 2 years. It's somebody who wants monthly check-ins, who wants consistent check-ins, not to fact check that we're doing the things we say we're going to do, but to add input, to give us help onto what they're seeing on the front ends of their business. What challenges are you currently facing? And how can we sort of pivot what it is that we're doing to help you with those challenges and help you continue to reach your goals?
Yes.
I couldn't speak more highly about having that mutual conversation. Again, not to fact check and say, hey, are you doing the things you say you're doing? That should just be table stakes of having any sort of partnership, right? That's not a partnership. That's a necessary evil. But when you have a partnership where it's, listen, let's have conversation about goals, about challenges, about strategic, in-depth conversation and how this partnership is going to help my agency grow. I love those conversations and I love those clients.
Same. And it starts from the very beginning, right, Brad? It's like, first we define these clear goals. We say, this is what we want to accomplish together. The only way we can make sure that that's happening is if we are having regular conversations and checking in with each other. And frankly, goals change sometimes, or, there's fresh ideas that are being brought to the table. And none of that happens without collaboration, right? Definitely not here, take my marketing and run with it. But let's have a really, really candid conversation and check in on a monthly basis, on a regular basis, and go beyond governance calls. Like that, not my favorite. Not my favorite at all.
Let's actually back up there for a second. So you alluded to sort of the kickoff process, right? When you bring a new partner into your staffing firm, you've decided I'm going to go with ABC vendor because of whatever it is that they can help you with. Kendra, in your mind, what should be discussed on that kickoff call so that you have a good understanding of what the vendor is going to bring to the table and, more importantly, what you should then also bring to the table?
Oh my goodness. First and foremost, those goals, making sure that they're very clear. I think that it's super helpful to have an exercise together to define those goals. So often I will have conversations with the clients and they're like, I need this. I need this solution. I need this. And then you ask them, what is it that you're looking to solve for? What is, what are the issues at hand, the challenges, et cetera? And you dig a little deeper and you're like, this may not be a technology solve. Let's start with your process. And let's look at that and bring in a technology partner to walk you through your process and figure out how you can improve that before you put the technology on top of it. So
that's the phantom knee pain, right?
Yep.
So I'm training for the Buffalo Marathon over here, and last fall I started PT because of some knee pain that was popping up. Find out that it's really because my hips weren't strong enough.
Oh my
right?
goodness.
So that phantom knee pain is because of really hip discomfort. And when you fix your hips, then you fix your knees, you fix your knees, you fix your feet. And I think a lot of partners, when you're having that conversation, I'm feeling pain here. Let's fix this pain here. And as you're alluding to, it's that phantom knee pain. It's saying, I think I need tech. You don't really need tech at all. You need better systems and processes. Sorry to cut you off, but I just want to share that as well.
That's perfect. I mean, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. So if you're having phantom pain, having a conversation with an expert and having them help you look into what the source of it is so helpful. And it's a game changer because now you have built some real trust as a foundation. You've had real candid conversations. You've established some open communication. And through all of that, you've determined whether or not their values and their culture is aligned with yours. So now let's take these goals we've identified and run with them.
So Kendra, we have the kickoff call. We have the kickoff process. We're now up and running with our strategic partner. How often should a staffing owner check in on the program or check in with their strategic partners?
Yeah, I would say monthly at the very least. It's the same approach that you have with clients, right? You want to have those monthly check-ins. If you haven't heard from your client in 30 days, that's not good news. So same goes for your partnerships. You want to have those touch points. And I'm not just talking about send me a quick report. No, send me the report beforehand and then let's have a quick call. And it can be 15 minutes. And let's just cover one key topic. Maybe everything else is going smoothly, but bring something. And your partner should be bringing fresh ideas or questions to you more than anything. So that's a real sign of a good partner is, are they curious? Are they innovative? Those things translate to those monthly calls and things like that as well. It's not just an overarching theme, a pie in the sky, if you will. It's like, what are they bringing to those check-ins?
Yeah. I agree. I love monthly check-ins. I don't like just regurgitating data. I think if we're sending reports, we're sending data. It should be easy to digest and it should be written in a way where the story is already told within the data so that the call is about what's next. It's about either A, what happened that led to the data, or B, what's going to be done to improve the data. I think the best strategic partners are bringing those ideas. They're bringing concrete examples from what they're seeing for other clients to understand, okay, this is what we're seeing here for you specifically. Here's what we're going to do about it. Or here's why we're going to keep it exactly the same, right? This is working. If it's not broke, don't break it. Let's continue just doing exactly what it is that we've been doing because we're seeing really good success from this.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's a great exercise for partners, for for our clients, period, to really stop and just take a look at how they present data. Like, what are you including in reports? How high are you keeping it high level enough for executives? It's a really strong exercise. And I have mentees now who that's one of the things they'll bring to me for our monthly calls is I have this presentation or I need to share this info with my CEO, how best to do it. And I really challenge everyone to practice that, because if you can boil down a long report into 3 slides with minimal notes and, maybe a couple appendices, then you're winning, because once you get on that call, it's going to go so much more smoothly. They're going to have questions prepared and they should be able to take a look at what you sent over 5 minutes before your call.
Sure.
So yeah, that's an aside, but so important. I really, really, really believe strongly in that.
Kendra, maybe a tough question, but when should a staffing owner start to think about changing partners?
Ooh, it's not a tough question. It's just requires some self-awareness, because you have to look at where your growth is. Have you outgrown said partner? Has the relationship went stale? Have they not been receptive to your feedback repeatedly? That's a big one. When you are making the effort to have those kind of conversations and share feedback, and you're getting a lot of smiles and nods, and nothing changes. I think that before every renewal, it does not hurt to take a look at what else is out there in the market and at least have some conversations. It's the same as at a personal level, right? It doesn't hurt to take some interviews and just keep that muscle going and make sure that you know what's the latest and greatest out there. The same goes for partnerships. So it shouldn't just be an auto renewal situation. You should be having conversations with your current partner and with other players in the industry as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's always a difficult conversation to have, but as you're working with somebody, you develop that relationship, right? And to find a new partner, it's very much like finding a new relationship, right? It's like finding a new spouse in a lot of ways. There are some situations where you might have a partner for years, and now all of a sudden you're thinking about changing for one of the reasons that you listed, right? Maybe the relationship went stale. Maybe you've outgrown that partner, which is a scary realization. Maybe you just don't know all the things that partner can do for you, right? So I don't want to say uneducated, but your partner hasn't done a good job educating you on everything that they can do, right? True. And again, the relationship is stale because there's not good dialogue. There's not good communication. I sound like a marriage counselor, but if you think about it, right, it's very much the same thing. You are putting your entire business in the hands of a partner. You need to make sure there's open dialogue and there's open communication. Is the project working well? Are goals being met? Are you constantly being updated and communicated with? Are your feelings being heard? This isn't a marriage episode. I swear it's a staffing and recruiting podcast. But in a lot of ways, when you think about strategic partnerships, it teeters that line and it teeters that analogy very well.
It really does. Collaboration requires true relationship management, which requires self-awareness and communication and all the things you just mentioned. And there's another reason too. Maybe there's a new player out there who you haven't even heard of, who's doing something amazing that you wouldn't know about if you didn't put the feelers out. So it's a missed opportunity to not at least take a look, months in advance of your renewal and have some of those conversations. And you made a great point. Have that conversation with your current partner, because oftentimes they don't do a great job of communicating everything they can do for you. You've found your sweet spot. You've been working together in that capacity. And now, there's so much more opportunity there that you haven't even realized.
The challenge there too is it's also human instinct to see a partner as the provider of the first service that you get from them.
Exactly right.
So we see it all the time. Somebody comes to us for blogging services. We become the blogging company. Mm-hmm. And we're a full service marketing agency at Haley. We can do everything from A to Z and everything in between. Mm-hmm. But somebody comes for a website, we're the website company. And it's consistently reinforcing through account management, and through calls and through marketing, email, whatever it might be, webinars, shows like this, to say that we are so much more than that. But it is a full effort. And that's not just marketing. I'm sure you see it over at Advance. And I know it's the same for B2C companies too, right? If you're selling shirts, you're the shirt company. Mm-hmm. It's just the way that the human brain works. And we are constantly up against that from strategic partnership standpoint. We need to educate our clients. We need to educate the industry into what it is that we do.
We really do. We really do. And it's interesting too, because you'll come on in that capacity and then, get a great account manager, and they're fantastic at delivering and supporting your client. They're not salespeople. And so you really want to have some open lines of communication internally too, because you want to have someone with a sales hat in some of those conversations, not because we're always, looking to upsell, which certainly, that's a win. We love that, right? But it also because we're looking at how can we bring more value to this client? How can we become even stickier with this client? Staffing firms do it all the time. They're looking at how they can provide consulting services, how they can, provide payroll services, always thinking about ways to bring more value to our clients. And the same goes for us as partners.
Kendra, how do you propose a staffing owner finds a strategic partner? I know in going to conferences, I go to probably 5 to 7 a year throughout the industry. I know conference attendance is down year over year, down even more if you think about pre-COVID numbers to where we are now. Maybe that's trending up in 2025. I've only been to one so far this year. I have a bunch coming up, coming June to, it is up?
It is up. Yeah. SIA Exec Forum are the largest yet. So things are
fantastic.
Yes.
I love to hear that. But even still, it's a fraction of the industry who goes to these conferences.
Very true.
Right? You think about SIA Exec Forum, you think about Staffing World, you think about even some of the state associations.
Sure.
It's a fraction of the total of staffing owners that are in the state. So for anyone listening now, how do you propose staffing owners find a strategic partner in one of the areas where they're feeling pain? So whether it's their ATS, it's their back office, it's their marketing, whatever it might be, how do you suggest people start to look for and find a strategic partner?
That's a great question. I think that, if you're an Advanced Partners client, you call me. If you're in the industry, you know someone who has a similar role or something that has a bird's eye view of the industry. And there's so many amazing experts out there who can help. So if you're looking for technology, there are folks like Lauren Jones from Leap Consulting, for example, who, you can schedule 15 minutes with and say, this is my problem. And she'll have suggestions. There's so many players like that where it's all about your network. It really is. And you do not have to go to these big shows to build your network. It's not necessary, right? It's super helpful and you'll learn a lot while you're there. But I understand it's a big investment and not everyone has the time or the resources to do that. So you have to get creative in building your network and going beyond just your clients and just folks that are in your region. And it can be a little uncomfortable. And I'm surprised how uncomfortable it can be for CEOs, for executives to put themselves out there and send an introduction note and ask for a call or whatever it may be. But that's why your network is so, so important.
I would agree with that. I think starting with a basic Google search or starting with some sort of LinkedIn recommendation, hey, I'm looking for somebody who can do ABC. Has anybody felt this before? ASA Central is a great place to post a question like that, or any other forum. NAPS has a great forum.
Yes. Yep. TechServe Alliance. They have a great conversations going all of the time about this. I'm so glad you called that out, Brett.
I definitely don't think staffing owners need to go it alone.
No.
And I think the scary thing that's happening right now is a lot of individuals, because the industry has been down for 3 years, because we're consistently seeing this drop in revenue, because we're seeing it's harder to get clients, it's harder to find talent to fill orders. Partnerships are becoming something to question because it's an expense. In my mind, though, it's not an expense if the partnership is a growth engine. And that's why I wanted to talk to you, Kendra, right? If it's seen as a growth engine, then it's not an expense, it's an investment.
It's an investment.
Right? If I know what I'm getting out of this partnership, then it's worth it, then I should be doing more with this strategic partner. And exactly why I wanted to talk to you is, well, one, how do we find the right people that can help us grow our business? And then two, once we find them, how do we know that what we're doing is actually working? And I think it's been a fantastic conversation around that whole thought process.
Agreed. And do not need to go at it alone. That's why collaboration is so important. That's why your network's so important. And oftentimes I think owners and founders feel like they're on an island. I hear them say this. And so, and to be clear, when folks ask me, most of the time I'm going and asking someone else. I just have a great network. Sure. So you don't, no one person has all of the answers.
When you think about a network, I'm thinking about the small to mid-sized staffing owner from Buffalo, New York, right? That's where I am. Should they be looking locally for a strategic partner? Should they be looking for somebody who specializes in the industry? Where do you propose they get started in terms of finding a strategic partner that can help them? Should they look locally, nationally? How do you find the right person?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think that it's important to have someone who understands staffing. That doesn't necessarily mean that that's their only client, that they serve, or their only industry they serve, But it is important that they do have an understanding of the staffing business. It's, in some cases, regional relationships and partnerships are perfect. They're a great fit. I'll also be willing to bet that when you hit that 5 million mark, you you're likely to have outgrown some of those. So it's knowing that you're making decisions for what works for you today. But you want to get out of any bubble you're in. I believe that personally and professionally. So you don't want to have all your...
What do you mean by that?
So if you're based in Buffalo, you don't want all your partners in Buffalo, because then everyone's thinking about, they're working from the same space. They're working the same region. They have the same type of clients. They're looking at things very similarly. Give me a partner that's on the West Coast. Give me someone from New York, from NYC. Give me folks from different regions who are also servicing different industries. So if I'm a light industrial staffing firm owner, I want folks in my network that also own professional services, that owns firms that service professional services, excuse me. I want just a wide range of diversity of thought, because that is how you're going to be prepared to scale your business. You're already going to...
I think I'd agree.
Folks, in your circle.
Yeah, I think I agree. I definitely want input from individuals who have not only seen my line of work, who can speak to what it is that I do specifically, but who also can bring fresh perspective, right? I want to be able to have a partner who can tell me, listen, we're seeing this is working really well here, but we also think this is going to work because we're seeing in this vertical, this is starting to take off. And if we can bring it to you sooner than later, you can then sort of piggyback off of that wave that this company is on.
Exactly.
So I do agree with that. I think having, whether it's local ties or having small roots, but also a wide net to understand what's working outside of those four walls or that small city, makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, definitely. And it's true in your personal life too, right? My personal board of directors, I have one amazing woman who's in her 70s, who's been running a very successful staffing firm in Texas for years. And then I have another woman who is an entrepreneur who just started her own consulting firm 2 years ago. And I learn so much from each of those conversations, and I can bring them the same challenge or the same question. And it's always a Venn diagram, right? I'm getting some of that same advice, but over here and over here, it's helping me really broaden my perspective and approach these challenges in a much more refined way, I think, than if I was just talking to someone that also ran partnerships at another funding firm.
Kendra, before I let you go, anything else on your mind about strategic partnerships that we haven't talked about yet?
It's all about community, Brad. It really is. And so when you're thinking about the partners that you're working with, when you're thinking about your own personal and professional network, all of those things tie into each other. And being a founder, an owner, an executive just means you really need to double down. You don't move away from the necessity, right? It's really important to continue to hone those relationships and prioritize them and set aside time on your monthly calendar to make sure that you're understanding where you're at and where you want to go together.
Before we get to our rapid fire round, I want to give you the floor to talk a little bit about yourself and Advanced Partners.
Hello. Kendra Cato. I am leading the Strategic Partnerships program at Advanced Partners, where our entire mission is to help staffing firms grow. We are a funding partner that I'm super proud to have been working with for less than a year now, and largely because of the opportunity to help small and mid-sized firms scale their business so much more quickly. And leading the Strategic Partnerships program means that we're building it from the ground up. We had some partnerships already in place, obviously, but really getting an opportunity to formalize those relationships and hear from our clients and hear from the industry as to what we should be bringing in to, again, bring more value to our clients. So that's a little bit about me. And I'm based in Chicago. And if you're ever coming this way, I'm always open to providing some suggestions on where to eat and where to drink. I love the city so much.
Yeah. She's got a Pope from Chicago.
Yes, I know.
How about that? How about that?
Indeed.
Yeah, White Sox fan too.
Yeah.
I'm a White Sox fan myself, so that was kind of interesting to find out. He was at the 05 World Series. How about that?
Yeah.
Might have to come back because that team stinks right now. So you might have to go to a few games and kind of give them the blessing.
You really should. Please.
Do you want to land more clients and close more deals in 2025? Haley Marketing is offering big savings to help staffing firms like yours grow. Get $1,000 off targeted marketing campaigns, free tools to track your hottest leads, and no setup fees on services that help your company get found online. Plus, we'll even help you stay in touch with prospects for free. but you need to act fast. These deals end June 30th. You visit bit.ly/Bialy offer to find out more information. Again, that's bit.ly/Bialy offer for more information. All right, let's get back to the show. Kendra, before I let you go, I want to run you through our rapid fire round if you got one more second.
Okay.
One book that has fundamentally changed your life.
Oh, How Women Rise. And it's all about 12 habits that are holding women back in corporate America.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
I asked why and you went right into it. And one piece of advice that you would give to somebody just starting in staffing and recruiting, what would you tell them?
To make as many friends as you can, to put yourself out there. It's really easy to keep your head down and focus on your business. It's a mistake and it's a miss. You really want to meet some folks in this industry.
She's Kendra Cato, the Director of Strategic Partnerships with Advanced Partners. Kendra, can't thank you enough for coming on, take the stage and sharing your insights with us today.
Brad, I can't thank you enough. Thanks for having me.